Alright, hey guys, welcome back to another video. Got something a bit different for you here. First time doing this on the channel. I've talked a lot about it in my videos over the last year or so. I'm like, oh, I want to get into grading, I want to do this, I want to do that. Well, the point has come. We're really close. I have made my first graded card pile here for submission. We're going to kind of go through it, give you guys an idea of what I'm interested in grading the most. I got some Pokemon cards from my childhood in here. I got Pokemon Topps. I got some other fun little tidbits in here as well. So I figured I'd go through it, show you guys, maybe try and guess the grades on some of them, and I don't know, we'll just kind of discuss things. So the first question that you probably have is, what grading company am I going with? I have decided to go with CGC. And there's a few reasons for this. Number one, they're much cheaper than PSA. They are $11 a card by default, but if you join like one of their higher tier memberships, they give you 10% off or 20. So I actually went with the membership that gives you 10% off because it's like a no-brainer, because they give you $150 credit and it costs $150 to join. So you spend $150 to join and then they give you $150 credit for grading. So it kind of pays for itself, and I figured my submission's pretty big. As you can see, it's a pretty big stack, so it kind of pays for itself. Like, this submission will pay, the savings from this submission will pay for half of it, and that the membership is good for an entire year. So it's more than going to pay for itself. So I went with that because pricing is great. The turnaround time is really quick. It's not like PSA where you could be waiting months. And probably the most importantly, I just like the way the slabs look for CGC more compared to PSA. I really don't like the look of PSA slabs. I think the CGC slabs, especially the pristine 10s, look amazing. And I kind of like the thrill of the chase of getting a pristine. And I don't mind getting a normal 10, so it doesn't bother me as much as some people. Like, I will be happy with 9s, 10s, pristine 10s. Completely fine with that stuff. And also because I'm a brand new person getting into grading, I think this is also something that a lot of people don't consider, is that someone like me, where I've never submitted cards for grading before, it's not like I have a giant collection of PSA cards that I've been grading or adding to my collection for years. So I kind of have that choice to go with one of the newer grading companies, and I think that CGC is just the better choice for me. I just like the way their slabs look. They look super clean, beautiful, affordable, quick turnaround times, and I don't know, I just wanted to go with them. So a lot of the cards I'm grading too are just going to be for my personal collection, so I'm not too concerned about resale value. But there will be cards in here, as you're going to see with the first card here, that I definitely will try and sell, because it's hard to be in the trading card hobby and be able to grade cards and not go broke, right? So like, you want to be able to kind of sustain your ability to add cards to your collection, grade them, and be able to affordably do so, right? So I think it's actually very important to have some cards in a grading submission that you plan on selling. And CGC cards, they sell slower than PSA, but ultimately they do sell. It just takes a little bit longer, and I'm okay with that. So now that we've got that out of the way, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to ask, like, why CGC over PSA? It's pretty simple for me. No offense to anybody that uses PSA. In fact, I will use PSA for certain cards, right? Like my Star Wars CCG collection. Everybody that grades those cards uses PSA. It's kind of like the standard. Almost nobody uses CGC. And I do want to get into the community of people that grade those cards with PSA, because it's a really awesome community. So when I do grade like my Star Wars stuff, it'll be through Star Wars CCG, at least, the old CCG game. It'll be through PSA. And if there's ever cards that I absolutely 100% know that the PSA graded version is like the better way to go, and I know I'm 100% selling it and not holding on to it, maybe I'll consider PSA. But for now, CGC. Sorry for the long-winded little intro, but what do you say we get into it? So these are in a certain order, so I have to kind of keep them in that order. So I'm going to kind of slide the stack over here, and we'll go through them. So first up, we have my Topps Pokemon cards. I've got a lot of them are going to be from Series 1 and Series 2. And a lot of them are black label, so second printing, which doesn't really determine the value too much. There's not much of a difference. So a lot of these I pulled, actually all of them I pulled pack fresh. A lot of them I wasn't able to send in the grading because they did have maybe a little too much corner wear, or like something was damaged on the front or back of the card. And I did go through these with a magnifying glass, a lighted magnifying glass, and let me tell you, If you're submitting cards to grading and you're not using a lighted magnifying glass, you are absolutely doing it wrong. I can't tell you how many cards I looked at and I just kind of eyeballed it and I'm like, oh, the corners look good. Oh, I don't see any surface damage. But the second I took that lighted magnifying glass, oh my goodness, did I notice things that my eye just could not notice without it. So really, if you've been grading cards without pre-grading and using a magnifying glass, wow, what night and day. Because I would have submitted certain cards and got a pretty bad grade on them had I not used that thing. I also use a microfiber cloth, and almost every single card here I'm submitting, like 95% of them I wipe down with a microfiber cloth, front and back, and there were little tiny tidbits like white dots or just different things that were on these cards fresh out of the pack that I was able to wipe off. So these Pikachus, really nice condition. Honestly, on the top stuff, I'm not expecting pristine. That's really hard to do for tops. But some 9s and 10s, like normal 10s especially, would be nice on these. The Series 2, these have like a speckled foil, so these are notorious for being really hard to grade because it's really easy for it to get like scratched or ruined in some way. But like I said, all these are pack fresh. We got the Ash and Pikachu, which I am definitely most excited to see how that comes back. And then Gary. These are the only foil TV characters that I have from the top series right now. And then my Series 2 Shelder foil, there's only 2 of these in a 10. And I'm not even sure, there might not even be a pristine in this, but there's not a lot of this card graded, so I'm actually kind of curious to see how that comes back. Some of my foil pulls on these Pokemon Topps cards were not the most exciting, but one that was exciting was this Bulbasaur. There's a ton of these clear cards graded, and I realize why, because it is 1 in every 9 packs, so the chance of pulling these is like kind of guaranteed to some point. Like you're eventually going to pull one of these if you open enough packs, so there are a lot in circulation, and obviously they're really popular cards, so people are going to grade them. But yeah, this Bulbasaur is looking really good. As you can see, the card itself is clear. One of my favorite pulls. I went with the Krabby and Kingler because, ooh, hold on. I got to make sure that I'm not putting these out of order too. We got to put these face down, really important. We don't want to screw up the order on these and make the graders mad. Because it was a set. I got the Kingler and I got the Krabby. I just thought that was kind of cool. Maybe they come back the same grade. That's kind of my goal with that. Rhydon was just really in nice condition. Pretty much any of these top cards, even, I really like the art on this seal. As long as it had good corners, no major damage, no any issues with the card, as long as it looked like something that could potentially get a 10 or a pristine 10, I sleeved it up. There were a few that I left out because I'm like, well, I can wait until a future submission because maybe it's not the most exciting Pokemon in the world, but look at this. We got Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, so like these are fun pairs, right? I want to see if we can get the same grade on them. If they don't come back as the same pair, say like one gets a 9 or one gets a 10, one gets an 8, one gets a 9.5, I will probably try and sell them at that point. But if they come back with the same grade, I think that's kind of cool to just hang on to. Cubone, just one of the more popular Pokemon. I looked this up. There's very few of these graded. This was awesome. This was from my Series 3 Topps pack that I pulled live on stream. These are kind of spoilers, by the way, because if you watch the live stream, you'll see me pull these live. I recorded a video for some of these too, which I got to remember to upload. But yeah, there's only like a handful of these graded. The Brushing Teeth Pikachu puzzle piece. So this getting a really high grade would be pretty crazy. There's also not a lot of this Nidoran graded. This one will probably come back like a 6.5 or a 7 because on the back there is like a little bit of, there's little teeny tiny issues here and there. And these corners are notorious for being hard to grade, so I'm not expecting much. I'm really grading this just to keep it protected. This Vaporeon though, man, I am kind of expecting a 10 or a pristine 10 on this. This thing is mint from Series 3. It looks amazing. Not a lot of the normal Vaporeon graded, so I'm kind of high hopes on that. Got to grade any of the base starter Pokemon, so we got the Squirtle, pretty much any of them that I pulled. We got the Ivysaur, the Venusaur, and I got the clear Bulbasaur, but I don't have the one that goes before this. Maybe one day I'll pull it. One of my favorite arts for Venusaur. This one looks so good. Such a cool card. Then we got the Charmeleon and the Charizard. Some of you may remember me pulling this one in a video from months ago. I was very excited when I pulled this, but this is a special one. I almost forgot. I had to submit this card as an error, and hopefully they mark it as such, because look at the back. It's really miscut, like obviously so. All this stuff up here, that's from another card. Look at the bottom. It's completely like cut off and shifted. Look at the Nintendo logo. It's completely cut off and shifted down, and another card's back started to appear up top here. So I submitted this as an error, and I'm kind of hoping that they give me a miscut. That would be kind of cool. And then this here had a little nicked corner, but it's a kind of a hard thing to grade. So, but kind of hoping for at least like a 9 on this. But Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard just seemed kind of fitting considering I had a bunch of the other Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard cards. We got Dratini and Dragonite from the movie packs, first movie. I'm grading this one just because it looks awesome. That hollow Mewtwo. And then this one because it is a Charizard, hollow trapped Charizard with his head kind of stuck in a tube. And now that we're done with Topps, that's everything Topps. We're going to get into some Wizards of the Coast vintage stuff. I'm grading mostly vintage, not too much modern at all. So Golduck is one of my favorite Pokemon, so I thought, hey, first edition Sabrina's Golduck, really nice mint condition. There's only one thing that can potentially hold this back. When I pulled this out of the top loader, I had to pull kind of hard to get it out because it slipped out of the penny sleeve, and I'm hoping that it didn't do like any kind of damage up here when I was pulling it out. It's possible, but we'll see. Maybe it's not really noticeable at all. I think this has pristine 10 potential because the centering is really good. There's really no white dots at all on this thing. Super clean. This actually came from a mystery pack, believe it or not. So some of you might remember I opened some mystery packs for Pokemon vintage stuff months ago. And this was a Haunter. You know, yeah, it's an unlimited Haunter. But this thing is really clean. The centering is pretty good. Looks like it's a little heavy on the left maybe. But a lot of these I did check with a centering tool. There's really no white dots at much at all. So it'll probably end up getting something like a 9 or a 9.5, but it did look really clean, so I figured I'd take the shot at it. And I pulled this from my, well, there will be some spoilers here if you didn't watch my video on me opening a vintage Pokemon Jungle and Fossil pack, so I would advise you to maybe pause this video and go and watch some of that first if you don't want spoilers on what I pulled for like my rares or hollows or non-hollows. If I got some, I don't want to spoil it. But I did pull this from a pack, Lickitung, and from what I saw in CGC, this card has no pristine 10s. So I'm like, let's take a crack at it. You never know. I could be the person that gets the pristine 10. The centering's good. It didn't really appear to have any white dots or bad edges or anything, so. And then I went with the Persian and Meowth combo because, hey, I pulled it from my pack and it would be kind of cool to get matching grades on these. Their centering is really good. Upon using the magnifying glass, I did detect some very minor corner dings, like white spots, so I'm not expecting pristine on these, but normal 10s would be nice. And then the Eevee as well, which I was really excited to pull this because this in a pristine 10 is like a $70+ card. Of course, the money thing is not, you know, it's not really my number one concern. If it was, I wouldn't be grading with CGC, right? I'd be using like PSA. But getting this in a pristine 10 would be awesome because the pristine 10 just looks so good on the vintage Wizards of the Coast stuff, I think. Pikachu as well, excellent centering. Like the centering on these jungle cards is almost perfect. On the front, it's almost perfect. So I think they have a really good shot at a normal 10. Pristine 10, probably not because there is very, very minor white dots in the corners and such. But I'm feeling pretty good about normal 10s on those. And then my Pidgeot, which I said I was going to grade regardless no matter what I got. It's a little off-center, heavy on the top and the right. But I'm going to grade it. It's probably going to get something like a 9 or a 9.5 because of the centering, but otherwise it's pretty nice. My hollow pull from Fossil. This thing is like near perfect. The centering is excellent. The back has like no white dots at all. From what I can really see. There might have been something, oh yeah, there's like a teeny tiny white dot on the bottom right. But the main problem was there is a print line that is quite noticeable in this when you view it at a certain angle. So that will probably hold it back. It might get a normal 10, definitely not a pristine. If I remember right, there's only one pristine 10 in the world for this Raichu and Unlimited. So apparently they have a lot of issues, a lot of print lines, probably just something wrong with them. So I'm expecting a 10 or a 9.5 on this. And then we got the Ghastly that I pulled from Fossil, just a uncommon, cool-looking card. And by uncommon, I mean like it is an uncommon. It's not hard to come by, but you know it's an uncommon rarity. Anything Haunter, Ghastly, Gengar, I'm just going to grade if it's in great condition. Now we're getting to my childhood Pokemon cards, and this is exciting because I don't think I ever really showed you guys my childhood Pokemon collection yet. Now I have. Here's the thing, real quick. I sold all of my Pokemon cards when I was younger. Almost everything. My entire English collection, everything. I had all the hollows for like base set, fossil jungle. Like, it was traumatic. I sold it all on eBay, like my entire binder for like $200. I sold my Charizard separately for like 20, 25, something ridiculous. But I did open up Japanese packs as a kid, believe it or not. I'd go to flea markets. So I actually do have a few pages of like Japanese hollows, and I picked out the last remaining ones that I have that are actually in good condition and potentially grade worthy, or at least any of the big cards. Some of them were pretty big, but they were a little too beat up to send in for this wave of grading, maybe in the future. But I do have a very small stack of cards that I held onto from my childhood for one reason or another. I guess because they weren't part really of a main set, so I'm like, well, I'll just hold on to these for now, and I never ended up getting rid of them, and that's good because these are some of my favorite cards. This Black Star promo Venusaur came from like I think it was the trading card game strategy guide. One of my favorite arts for Venusaur, if not my favorite Venusaur card. I love the art on this card, and it's actually in pretty good shape, despite these things just sitting in a binder page without a sleeve for all these years. I was pretty impressed by the condition on these. It's probably going to get something somewhere between like a 6 and a 7, 7.5. If it gets anything in like the 8 or above, I will be very surprised. So that's why I'm doing this video, so we kind of, when we go through these cards, when I get the submission back, it'll kind of be fun to see what I get on these. Are they going to be above or below my expectation? So another thing too, Chansey is my favorite Pokemon, so I kind of group Blissey in there a little bit, but more so Chansey. But this is a card that I ordered on eBay months ago, and it's in really good shape, so I figured, what the heck, why not? It's unlimited, but it's a really cool card art, and it's from one of my favorite Pokemon artists too, which is Yukimori. Yukimori cards I'm a huge fan of. Not a lot of issues with it, not really any corner or edge wear that was super noticeable. Like I said, I wiped these down. I used my magnifying lighted glass on them. This is a reverse hollow from Expedition. Actually, a pretty hard one to get in really good shape. Any of these e-reader cards with these reverse hollows are really hard. They usually get really scratched up. I bought this on eBay as well, and I checked it, and I'm like, wow, this is actually like mint. So I do have a second one of these, so I'm going to send this one in and see if we can potentially get that pristine. This came from I know this seems really random. It's like, wait, why are you grading this? This is from the Rising Rival set from like the Pokemon Platinum pack. And it's a non-hollow, but why am I grading this? Because this is the pack that I got from when I opened one of Pokerev's mystery packs, his ones that he did about like 6 or 7 months ago. Not like the most recent one. It was before he did the price increase. It included like the rainbow tier. I will probably never do his packs again. They're just way too risky, and I'm not into modern Pokemon quite enough to risk those packs. But I did get a gold pack, which was a 1 in 25 chance, I believe, or a 1 in 20 chance. And I was a little bummed because it had the chance to be a vintage pack, like jungle, fossil, Japanese, English, that kind of stuff. And I ended up getting a Pokemon Platinum pack, which was probably the lowest tier, quote unquote, vintage pack you can get from a gold bag. But I opened it regardless, and I did get some kind of cool cards, so I'm grading anything from there that I deemed worthy of grading. And of course, a Raichu to me was kind of neat. This is the rare that I got, and it's in really good shape. I mean, the centering is good. It looked good enough to me, so we'll see what we get on this. There's not a ton of these graded either, so getting a high grade on that would be nice. My reverse was a Munchlax, which is actually a pretty decent one to pull. This guy, like, even ungraded is like a $15, $20 card, and this is pack fresh, so, and you'll see in a moment here, I'm just noticing now that it's kind of high in this card saver. I want to see if I can push it down just a teeny bit more. Didn't want it to slide out. And it's a cool card. I like the art. I figured this would be a neat one because I'm sure not a lot of people are grading these reverse hollows. What is that? Oh, it's like a bubble in the penny sleeve. I got the Munchlax, but I also got the common Snorlax. So I figured, what the hell? Munchlax, Snorlax, we'll grade the two of them. I did get a Nidoran from the pack as well, but I decided I'll probably grade that in a later submission. Can't grade too many cards, it'll get a little too pricey. So later submission we can do the Nidoran. Like any kind of like Pokemon that's one of the original 151 and sometimes the original 251, if I get it in a pack and it looks like it's cool art and not too many have been graded and it seems worth grading, then I'll grade it. Like I said, Chansey, one of my favorite Pokemon, and I actually got this at a convention for like $1. And I looked it over, and yeah, most of these classic collection, this is the one that you got in like that huge set recently where they give you like the vintage decks with the new hollow pattern, the Pokemon Classic Collection. I just really like the way the holo looks on this Chansey, and yeah, it's probably better to just outright buy a graded one if I'm looking for like a pristine on it or something, but I wanted to take a chance on grading my own. It looked like the centering is good, so I took the chance. This is one that I actually picked up in some kind of, what the heck was it? I was doing, I was in a Fnatic stream or something for, I think, Sorcery. I don't know, it's been a while. It's been like almost 8 months since I got this. But they were doing like live auctions, and I was like, what the hell, I'll throw in a bid on this, and I actually got this for like 40 bucks or something, super cheap. This is a pretty expensive card, and I just thought it would look awesome in a pristine 10. This comes from Chilling Reign. Imagine this in a pristine 10 with the gold label. I just thought it would look awesome. Now this is the kind of card where I don't have too much of an attachment to it, so even though it is Snorlax, if this got the pristine 10, I think I would actually consider selling it. Because if you get a pristine 10 in this, it will pay for most of my entire graded submission. And that's kind of what you got to do with these grading submissions, right? You got to like hope you get a pristine 10 and a really awesome card, and then sell a few of them, and it pays for your entire submission. So we'll see. If it doesn't get the pristine, I'll probably hold on to it. And then this one here, some of you may remember, when I first started doing my Pokemon openings on the channel, I opened up some Crown Zenith, and I pulled this from my very first ETB, and I think it was like one of the first packs I opened for the set. I pulled the Giratina V-Star. Now this does have sentimental meaning to me because it is like the best pull that I did on this channel when I first started opening Pokemon. So I'll have to see how it goes. If it gets the pristine, I will probably most likely maybe sell it. We'll see. But if it gets anything below a 10 or a pristine, I'll probably just hold on to it for my personal collection. All right, now my Japanese jungle pack that I opened on stream, we had some pretty good pulls from that. Probably going to grade higher than the English packs, obviously, because Japanese just tends to be higher quality. A lot of them were teeny bit off center, though, I was noticing, but I just picked out whichever ones looked the best. So we got Meowth, we got Primeape, Gloom, because not a lot of people grade Gloom, and I just kind of felt bad for Gloom. Vileplume is one of my favorite Pokemon. Can't say I'm a big Gloom fan, but I wanted to just see what we can get on it. And of course, we also pulled the Persian Meowth combo. Unfortunately, apparently I don't have them in the right order. But yeah, we did pull the Meowth and the Persian in my Japanese jungle pack. We got a Japanese Cubone and the Eevee. We had a pretty good Japanese pack. And this will be the spoiler for my holo coming up here from the pack, which was a Wigglytuff. Upon examining this thing closer, I think this is probably going to get something like an 8. Like a point above or a point and a half above or below that maybe, because it wasn't perfect. Unfortunately, there was an issue with like one of the corners being a little bit kind of like dog-eared. Maybe they won't deem that like serious enough. Maybe it's something that may come out in time in the encasing, but we'll see. I'm definitely not expecting a 10 or a pristine 10 on this, but we'll see what happens. Once again, more Chansey. This is actually a card that I picked up at a convention. I actually went to my first card convention like almost a year ago at this point, believe it or not. And I never ended up doing a video on it. It was like 8 months ago, however long ago, I kind of forget. And I picked up some cards there, and I actually got this for like, I think it was somewhere in the range of $17 or $20. And this card is really expensive in a 10, like super expensive. Is it one of those Pokemon vending cards where you like, they're kind of more glossy than normal, but yeah, this thing is mint. These are really hard to find in super good condition, so I'm hoping for the best on that. Some wild looking Chansey art too. All right, here's my childhood collection. Not sure why I had that Venusaur like separated. I guess because I was doing English and Japanese, I wanted to make it easier on the grader. So yeah, we're back to my childhood collection. And these are straight from my old binder pages that were not in a binder. They were kind of just sitting loosely. So I tried to pick out the best of the best. These are definitely not going to be the like pristine 10 kind of condition. There's going to be little tiny things wrong with them here and there. But I expect most of them to kind of maybe get in the 7 to 8 range. I want to be realistic here. Right? Like you'll see a little white dot on the back here on the Blastoise. So nothing that's going to be 10 worthy probably, but nothing that's going to be in like the 3 or 4 range, unless I'm missing a crucial dent on the card or something. Actually, there were some cards where like the back looked like I shouldn't get my hopes up too much I actually really don't care what grades these get. I just want to encapsulate them because they are one of the few remaining artifacts, I guess we'll say, from my childhood Pokemon collection. So we got the Dark Blastoise, and these mean a lot to me, by the way, because I personally pulled these from packs. I know that seems really unusual because most people were not opening Japanese packs in the United States, but I went to a lot of flea markets when I was younger, and the flea markets did sell Japanese packs. And I remember one time I was like at some like after school thing hanging out, and one of the kids there was trying to trade me Japanese Pokemon cards, and it was the first time I'd ever seen them in person, and I was like, wow, these are actually, the hollow patterns on these are actually kind of crazy looking. I like them. And then when I went to the flea markets and stuff, I actually started seeking these packs out. So a lot of these cards I personally opened, not a lot, all of them I personally opened myself, and I still have them. And like I said, since I lost almost all of my childhood Pokemon collection, English, like these mean a lot. These will not leave my collection, period. I don't care, even if they somehow manage to get a pristine time, which they won't, they will not leave my collection. So we got the Lugia, which is an awesome one. Always loved the coloring on the background of this card. And yep, I got the Blaine's Charizard. This one here might have the best chance at like the highest grade, because this one, from when I was inspecting it, had like the best sort of like no problems with corners and whitening or anything crazy like scratch wise. So this one here could be pretty good. This Dark Charizard unfortunately does have a very visible scratch going through the front of the card. Nothing too deep, but it will definitely like kind of knock this down, I'm sure, to like at least no higher than an 8.5. Alright, now we're into the miscellaneous stuff. Like I said, I have more Japanese Pokemon from my childhood. I'll submit more probably in a later submission. My goal will eventually be to submit my entire childhood Pokemon collection of like Japanese hollows, just to kind of like cohesively have them in one graded set, because it's cheap enough to grade with CGC. It's not that big of a deal, but we'll do that over time, right? Like I'm not too worried about getting that all done right away. Okay, so now it's just going to be a lot of miscellaneous cards that either mean something to me or are significant in some way. So I'm sure a lot of you actually started following me because of my MetaZoo videos that I used to do, and some of you may recall this. This is the one and only time I pulled a serialized card from MetaZoo. This was from Seance, and this was from a random single blister pack that I opened for Seance, and it was an amazing moment. This is when MetaZoo is still new, well, not new, but relevant and exciting. Seance was, despite its issues, still a pretty cool set, and it felt awesome to pull a secret rare. It's serialized 5 out of 20. The secret rares that are serialized in MetaZoo were really, really, really hard to pull. Pulling one of these was like winning the lottery, because MetaZoo had such high print runs. Obviously, ultimately it led to their downfall. Pulling one of these was really hard. So getting this from a random one-off blister pack was like a magical moment. Go check that video out. It'll kind of like rejuvenate some of your love for MetaZoo, what little may be left if you're able to recover any love for MetaZoo at this point. But I still have memories. Like, to me, MetaZoo is more about the memories and the people that I met along the way, online and from the community and everything. And this card means a lot to me, from the channel and my pulls on the channel in general. So we're getting that graded. There's none graded of that card serialized at all. So, oh, and one thing I want to say too, most people, almost everybody goes with PSA when they grade MetaZoo, especially the later sets like Seance and stuff. So, like I said, this is just for me personal. Like, I'm not selling these MetaZoo cards, and especially the next one, you'll see why. We got my Silver Supporter medal, which came at a really interesting time, right? Like some of you may remember me mentioning this. They sent this to me in the mail shortly before they started having their major issues when it came to like silence, and not too long before they announced the closure of MetaZoo. So this card is actually pretty wild for me to have received. They sent this to me because, you know, I was doing MetaZoo videos. I did a lot of MetaZoo videos, and I think it's because of the MetaZoo video that I made, like Beginner's Guide to MetaZoo, which I still stand by. I mean, there's a lot of people that leave comments on that video. They're like, "Oh, this didn't age well." It's like, well, of course, MetaZoo shut down. But at the time, it was I was very enthusiastic for MetaZoo, and I thought it was a great video, and apparently so did they, because I think that video is the sole reason, like one of the sole reasons I got this card, apart from creating a lot of other MetaZoo content, like unboxings and stuff. So I'm grading it. CGC has a bronze and a gold, like a couple of each graded, but none of the silver have been submitted. This one was really sent out to content creators with like a YouTube channel. Bronze is like people in their Discord. Gold was for like people that were LGSs selling MetaZoo, or very rare circumstances where, you know, they'd send it to a couple of other people that weren't like actually stores. But these silver ones were specifically sent to a group of content creators. These are very limited and rare. They did not send out a lot of these. So yeah, we're grading it. I mean, obviously I'm hoping for the pristine, but it doesn't really matter what grade it gets. I'll just be happy to kind of encapsulate this card. And then this is one that I pulled on a live stream. A lot of you probably were not there for this, so you're probably unaware I pulled this. I was in a very kind of like passive aggressive mood with MetaZoo. Like, I pulled this in the thick of the drama. So this is Topps X Cryptid Nation for MetaZoo. This is a Topps card, but this is numbered to 5. So this is a serialized 5 out of 5 card. These low serialized cards are super, super hard to pull, and this is like one of the craziest ones you can pull. This does not come in anything. So there's just a superfractor of this, so like a 1 of 1 gold, and then the black, which is 5 of 5, and then after that, if I remember correctly, that's it. The serialization ends there, and everything else is just like, I think it's like the normal version that's not serialized is just like a case hit. You might get 1 per case if they're not serialized. So this is one of the absolute most rare cards that you could have pulled from MetaZoo Topps. And as you guys know, I opened a ton of these Topps Chrome cards for MetaZoo, and I never pulled anything better than a numbered out of like 25. And I opened this, I was doing a stream where I was just opening up like just some of the final packs that I have for Topps Chrome, and I was kind of mad at the time, like I was in my falling out stage with MetaZoo, but when I pulled this card, it kind of brought me back to that, just a brief moment of loving MetaZoo again. And I had to get this graded. Like, it was a very meaningful pull for me because it was sort of like a send-off, right? I didn't really plan on opening any MetaZoo much after that, and I still haven't. So this is like my send-off card to MetaZoo. The last amazing card that I pulled for MetaZoo before it went to where it is today. Alright, I pulled a stellar card for Australs. You guys know I open Australs here and there on the channel. Really enjoying the Daybreak set. I pulled this on a stream recently, and it's a stellar card, which means it's serialized to number 99. And yeah, I just wanted to grade it because I'm never going to put this in a deck. These cards are very rare. This came from the Shattered Stars sets, which are like the monthly packs you get in the mail. Notoriously hard cards to pull. It's kind of a cool little hollow pattern on there. It's the first and only one that I've still pulled that's serialized. And I wanted to get it graded because I thought it would look kind of good, and the CGC slab they're protected as well. We got some Lord of the Rings in here. I bought this on eBay like a year ago. This is from the Mines of Moria set, and this is the Hollow Balrog. So getting a foil in Lord of the Rings, like the old Lord of the Rings card game. This is not Magic, by the way. This is Decipher. So this is back from like based on the films. It's like 1 in 7 packs, and then getting a rare hollow in a booster box is not even guaranteed. You're just happy to get a single rare hollow in an entire 36-pack booster box. So imagine, first of all, getting a hollow in a pack, then hoping it's a rare, and then hoping the rare is the Balrog. So as you can imagine, this card is really hard to pull. It's not as mint as I would hope. This is definitely not going to be a 10, or pristine 10 at least, but I'll be happy with like an 8 or a 9 on this. Honestly, it's just something I wouldn't want to put in a binder because it's just so hard to pull this card. I just want to get it encapsulated. It did have some issues. Like, these cards are notorious for being really hard to grade. But yeah, we'll see what comes back on this. I don't really know what to expect. We'll find out. It's probably going to be like a 7 or an 8 if I had to guess. And then I just picked out some main characters that I pulled from my packs of Lord of the Rings over the last year or so that were in really nice shape, good centering. So I did a rare Gandalf. The non-hollows will grade a lot easier, so this is a non-hollow, so it's more likely to get a 10. I pulled this on a stream, I believe. Hollow Witch King from, this is what, Return of the King? So any of these, the P cards, which I believe are, it doesn't stand for promo, it stands for like Premier or something. It's essentially a card that you can only pull in the booster boxes in a hollow version, and it's typically like 1 in every other booster box or something like that, so they're kind of hard to get. And then we got a non-hollow Aragorn, just a kind of nice minty looking non-hollow. We got Saruman from the Elf Lord set, kind of a harder set to get packs for these days, so I figured we'll grade that. It's not easy to get a hold of those in pack fresh condition. This is the first amazing hollow that I pulled for Lord of the Rings TCG when I started opening it on the channel, but we get the Aragorn hollow. You can see the hollow pattern there in his necklace, really nice. This is from the Fellowship of the Ring. And then probably my favorite one of the bunch, this Gandalf is awesome. This comes from Mines of Moria as well. Just a really nice picture there with a nice hollow background. So hoping for at least 9s on these, but I'm not getting my hopes up because these Lord of the Rings cards are just so hard to grade. I picked this up at the convention as well. This is just a serialized, partially completed Death Star, 41 out of 60. This might be something I consider selling if it gets a good enough grade. This is from the Topps Return of the Jedi Sapphire set. At the time, I was kind of fresh off of collecting some Star Wars Topps stuff. I'm not really doing it too much anymore. So I think I'm definitely more willing to sell this card if the grade is good enough. If the grade kind of sucks, I'll just hold on to it. This one I pulled on the channel. This one I will probably hold on to because this was an awesome pull. It's got an amazing artwork with all the Star Wars characters on there. I'm a bit distanced from Star Wars these days. I'm not as excited for it as I used to be. Just Star Wars is just in such a weird spot right now. But that doesn't deter from the fact that the art on here is amazing. This is the Star Wars Saga, serialized to 150. Pulled this from one of the Galaxy boxes. The first and only Galaxy box I opened, or did I do 2? I don't remember, but it's a really cool looking card, and I figured that would look awesome in a CGC slab. And then the last few cards here are Final Fantasy trading card game. Now, I do have Wave 1 cards, which are like the first printing of these cards, which are distinguished by having certain errors on them. I'm not submitting any Wave 1 right now. I'm kind of doing this as a test. So I'm taking just a few cool Opus 1 cards and just submitting it and seeing what kind of grades they get, kind of feeling them out, seeing what grade they give me, and then trying to figure out why it got that grade. So like say this comes back an 8, I want to take a look at it and be like, okay, why did this get an 8? And try and figure out how to submit these cards in the future before I go submit all of my Wave 1 cards, because I want those to get really good grades. So I'm doing, the second or non-Wave 1 on Lightning Legend, Tidus Legend, and I do have Wave 1 for all of these that I'm submitting here, but like I said, we're holding off on this for now. Just kind of a test to see how they come back. We got the Sephiroth, and thank goodness for my magnifying glass. A lot of these I bought on TCG Player for these Final Fantasy cards because I'm trying to still fill out my 3-card playset binder of all foils for Opus 1. And a lot of them did have like little teeny tiny things on the foil, like, ooh, the itziest little dent that I wouldn't have seen otherwise, and I almost submitted them. So I think I picked out the best ones that I was able to find for now. And we got the Cloud Common foil as well. So that's going to do it, guys. That is my submission. Like, could I add more cards onto this? I could, but for now I think I'm just going to keep it. These, we're going to, I got the whole order form filled out on the website. Like, we're good to go. I have the entire submission form done. I just got to pay for it, pack them up, put the slip in the box, and ship them off to CGC. And the turnaround time right now for working days is 5 days. Like, what? So I'm assuming it doesn't actually mean 5 days because I'm sure there's a waiting period. But I'm assuming in about 2 weeks, I'll probably have this back and we can do an unboxing video and see what kind of grades I got. I think that'll be super fun. I am also holding off on grading my Mewtwo error card from the first movie. I'm sure some of you are asking about that, because that is a card that has to be submitted at a higher tier because of the potential value of it. And I don't want to submit a higher value card like that in a bulk submission because I just feel like it might slow down the bulk submission grading process. So I'm just going to submit that separately at a later point. But yeah, that's going to do it. Thank you guys for watching. Sorry this video is pretty long, but thank you for watching if you made it to the end.